forth the great wisdom of God that calls us to communion with each other and with God's self, as we pause to hear the invitation of Father Alfred McBride to a closer relationship with Christ and with others.
The statue of St. Norbert at the entry of our college church shows him carrying a monstrance in the middle of which is the Eucharist. St. Norbert is remembered for two achievements. First, he is honored for his defense of the real presence of Jesus in the Eucharist. Secondly, he is revered as the founder of the Norbertine order in the 12th century. His defense of Holy Communion led him to create a holy community of Norbertines who have been in existence for over 8 centuries, and they are the founders of this college. Generally, we think of Eucharist when we receive it as Holy Communion. That is a beautiful way to think of communion, since Jesus comes to us and challenges us to live communion in our daily lives. Jesus said of Eucharist, "The bread I give is my flesh for the life of the world." That's Gospel of John, chapter 6, verse 51. In these words, he reveals his deep compassion for every man and woman. In Holy Communion, Jesus forms us as witnesses of community to all people. On the St. Norbert campus, our taking communion moves us to union with Christ, to serve love to everyone. In him and with him, I love not just those I know and like, but even the person I do not like, or perhaps not even know. I can only do this when I let the love power of Christ affect not just my decisions, but even my feelings. Philosophy tells us that ideas have consequences. Our faith goes further and reminds us that in our union with the Son of God in Holy Communion, I learn to look at this other person, not simply with my eyes and feelings, but with the eyes and affections of Jesus himself. Life on the St. Norbert College campus is an educational treasure that prepares you for your future. The arts, the sciences, the skills for understanding human nature, the path to responsibility and leadership. Your life as a St. Norbert student is also an adventure in faith. The Eucharist is what we call a sacred mystery. At every Mass, after the transformation of the bread and wine into Christ's body and blood, we always hear the words, "Let us proclaim this mystery of faith." In the Gospels, when Jesus instituted the Eucharist at the Last Supper, he took the bread and broke it and said, "Take and eat. This is my body that will be given up for you." The expression "given up" refers to his going to the cross, where he will die for the sake of our salvation from sin and for the reconciliation of all of us to God. He broke the bread that became his body. He himself became that broken bread on the cross. When we go to Holy Communion, we obtain the graces to be reconcilers in our lives. Jesus in the Eucharist enables us to have social commitment. Jesus had the deepest respect for the dignity of all men and women, each of whom is an image of God. When he enters our hearts at Holy Communion, he penetrates our awareness with his vision of a peaceful world, of justice for all, of fidelity to all our promises. He also invests us with the moral courage to make this happen. The relationship between the Eucharist and social concern must become explicit in St. Norbert College students. The Acts of Jesus at the Last Supper offer St. Norbert students with steps that expand their spiritual and moral ideals. Jesus took bread. He blessed it. He broke it. He gave it. These 4 steps can describe what your prayer before communion can be. Pray this way: Jesus, take me. Jesus, bless me. Jesus, break me. Jesus, give me as your ambassador to the culture. This is the idealism of Christ. He expects the best and gives us the graces to receive it. The ultimate lesson of Holy Communion is this: there is no love without sacrifice. Jesus carried the cross to Calvary to prove his own teaching about love. He had said, "The greatest love one can have is to lay down one's life for another." That is the deepest application of the meaning of love. There is no real or lasting love if it does not involve being, quote, bread that is broken, and the wine of our blood poured out for those who need our help, close quote. Recently, we all recalled the 10th anniversary of 9/11. Last September, I was in New York to give the Cardinal Bernardine lecture at the Franciscan Monastery in Manhattan, just across the street from Pennsylvania Station. In their church, there is a side chapel that contains a huge piece of twisted steel. It was donated to the Franciscans in memory of Father Michael Judge. He was one of the chaplains to the firefighters. On 9/11, he rushed to the site and entered the South Tower to see what he could do. He took off his firefighter helmet just as the other tower collapsed. The ceiling in the lobby fell in and killed Michael instantly. 4 firefighters carried his body away from the scene. At one point, they laid him on the pavement and prayed over him. Then they brought him to St. Peter's Church, where they laid him on the marble floor in front of the altar. Coincidentally, the carving on the altar showed Jesus laid in the tomb. Father Michael Judge was listed as victim number 1 of 9/11. He lived and died as a Eucharistic priest. His Holy Communion led to community sensibility. He died for those he loved. I like Father Judge's popular prayer and share it with you. Lord, take me where you want me to go. Let me meet whom you want me to meet. Tell me what you want me to say, and keep me out of your way. This is exactly how Holy Communion